Okay, good evening to everyone. Today we are going to learn something more about the agrochemistry or the chemistry related agriculture and something more. So, in last class we have learned quite a lot and today we are going to continue again more. So, first of all, we have one question. Do you have any fertilizer which is environmental friendly, or how we can consider that the fertilizer can be considered as environmentally friendly? So in that case, if we want to keep our environment cleaner, in that case we will not produce too much of NOx. NOx, that means some compounds or oxides of nitrogen that are considered as NOx, which do harm to the atmospheric, that means UV protective ozone layer. So we should not use anything which produces too much of nitrogen oxide. It can be NO or NO2 or N2O5, something like this. So we need to think about what types of fertilizer we can use that will not reduce too much of NOx or NOx and increase organic matter. So in soil, if we can increase the organic matter, that can develop the quality of the soil so that it can be used for quite a long time, and as the organic matter increases, the survival capacity or the food production for the plant will increase and our crops production can be increased. Also, adjust soil pH. If your soil has very different pH which is required for the plant grow, sometimes it can be little bit acidic or little bit basic, but neither too acidic not too basic. So you need to control the pH of your soil, and depending on what types of crops you are interested to grow in, you need to control the value of the pH, because if you want to grow one plant that may require little bit lower pH, but if your soil has higher pH, then you need to adjust it by using some fertilizer. So you need to control the value of the pH also. Improve water retention and water holding capacity. So you need to add some fertilizer that can help the soil to keep more water, because any food the plant is collecting from the water. Therefore if there is no water, then the green plant cannot survive, and also the leaves will be uh, dried up. Therefore the photosynthesis process will not be happen anymore. Therefore the plant will dry up, and sometimes later or few days later the tree will be dried up and going to die. So we need to think about how we can improve the quality of the soil and how we can keep the environment free from different types of unnecessary compounds like as SOx, NOx. Actually we have mentioned about the NOx and not for the SOx, because are you familiar with the SOx word? Sulfur oxide. Sulfur oxide is SOx and NOx is nitrogen oxide. So mainly we get quite a lot of NOx or NOx from fertilizers. Therefore we always try to keep the environment clean by removing or by using the fertilizer which gives little bit or less amount of NOx. Now, proper use of chemical fertilizers. What types of fertilizer or when we should use, or if we should use always the fertilizer or unnecessarily we should not use. So we need to think about what types of fertilizer and when we should use. So there is one very interesting word and very meaningful word, that is double-edged sword. Double-edged sword, all of you are familiar. I have tried to find out one figure, but when I made the slide, I forgot to add the. But double-edged sword, that means something. You may have some comb. Sometime you can have some comb having that both side it can be used to organize your hair. Similarly, there are some sword which can be used to cut when you push or pull. Both way it can cut. Therefore, that is the meaning. That means the fertilizer is double-edged sword. That means if you use it, that also harmful for environment. If you do not use it, that is also harmful, because in that case you will not get too much of production. Therefore, either you use or don't use, both are harmful. So you need to think about the fertilizer is double-edged sword. So if you do not use, you will lose the productivity, and if you use, then you are going to uh, make the environment more dangerous, or it will be destructive for our environment, and also it's decreasing the quality of the soil. And also day by day, when you are using the different chemical fertilizer for a long time, then after few years later you can have the quality of the soil has been reduced quite a lot. Therefore, you need to increase the use of organic fertilizer, or you can use a combination. So we will mention here. So proper use of the chemical fertilizers, how we can improve or how we can use different types of fertilizers. Choosing fertilizer according to soil characteristics, already I have mentioned that in last class. If you want to use some fertilizer, first you need to think about if it is necessary or not. If your soil require what type of fertilizer, you need to think about, or you need to get the idea that what component of nutrients is deficient in your soil. Therefore, based on that, you will use that fertilizer, corresponding fertilizer, I would say, the which is deficient in your soil and that is required for the growth of the plant or to grow the crops. Therefore, you need to choose that fertilizer what is necessary to increase that nutrient component. Maybe it can be one component or two components. So you need to think about which one is deficient, either one or two or even more. So you need to think about what is deficient in your soil. You need to choose that fertilizer based on the property or the composition. Before buying fertilizer, it is necessary to be well aware of the soil pH. So if your soil pH has different value, what is not necessary or what is not good for the soil or the plant growth, in that case you need to you need to adjust. I should not reduce, you should adjust the value of pH. If your soil has low pH, that means acidic, then you need to add some basic substance or alkaline substance so that it can adjust the value of pH or it can reduce the acidity. Similarly, if your soil has higher pH, that means it is highly basic, in that case you need to add some acidic solution or acidic substance so that it can neutralizes. So you need to think about how you can adjust the pH for your soil, or what would be the best pH for the growth of your plant. So if the soil is ore, we can increase the uses of organic fertilizer, keep the control of nitrogenous and remain the amount of phosphatic fertilizer. So we need to think what types of fertilizer we want to use. Co-using with organic fertilizer. So if you have some soil, or if you want to grow some plant, it is of the essence for agriculture to use organic fertilizer and chemical fertilizer. Studies have shown that it is beneficial to soil organic matter turnover. So if you can use the combination, both chemical fertilizer and organic fertilizer, so in case of organic fertilizer, it will take some time to improve the quality of your soil. Therefore, after certain period of time, then your soil will be even fertile and it could be even better. So immediately you may use some chemical fertilizer for the proper or if you want to keep your plant survive immediately or within very short period of time, in that case you can use just a small amount of chemical fertilizer, and then you can put, or you can supply lot of organic fertilizer. Soil organic matter is updating, and exchange capacity of soil cation is improved, which helps to improve soil enzyme activity and increase crop nutrient absorption. So it helps improve crop quality, enhance component content of protein, amino acids and other nutrients. So even if you use quite a lot or the combination of organic fertilizer and inorganic fertilizer, the organic component will improve the quality, enhance component content of protein, amino acids and nutrients. So if you use chemical fertilizer, that can increase the production of your crop, and the quality can be increased or improved by the use of organic fertilizers. Choosing the right method of fertilization. So how you need to apply the fertilizer? There are, as already I have mentioned in the last class, that my elder brother put lot of fertilizers that was not necessary. So how you should distribute the fertilizer? Another example I have mentioned, that we had the tablet type urea and normal urea like as powder or very small pellet. So if we use two different categories of fertilizers, which is like a tablet, that means bigger in size, in that case that pellet takes quite a long time to dissolve into water. But the normal regular urea fertilizer, if you use that will take just couple of hours or maybe one day maximum to dissolve into water. So after one day, if the soil is washed away, then all the fertilizers will be washed away. Therefore that is just useless. But if you use the tablet type urea fertilizer, then even it washed away, it will not completely wash away, because it will take quite a long time to dissolve into water or inside the soil. Therefore if you can apply that types of fertilizer, that can help you to give the crops the nutrient for a long time. Therefore that can be another way. In that case you don't need to put the tablets everywhere on the field. Just put some place, it may have certain area, it can cover certain area, so you don't need to throw away everywhere. But in case of normal urea fertilizer, you need to distribute everywhere equally almost, because that is size is very small, therefore it cannot cover up very long distance. Therefore it can have, so you need to think about how we can distribute or how we can circulate or spread the fertilizers. So in fertilization techniques and environmental conditions, the nitrate content of vegetables and crops and the types of nitrogen in soil are closely related. The higher concentration of nitrogen in the soil, the higher nitrate content in vegetables. especially in the latter period. Therefore, the application of chemical fertilizer should be early and not too much. That means you need to think about, if you want to use chemical fertilizer, that should not be used just before the cultivation of your crop. Normally in villages I have seen, even I have used, so I have seen that most of the time just before planting the seeds or before cultivation of the seeds or just green plants, we are giving the fertilizers. Or even if you want to grow some potato or something like this, before mm, giving the, or before putting the potato seeds inside the soil, we are plugging the soil and then mixing lot of chemical fertilizers. But before the cultivation time we do not put any fertilizer, because in that case that will remain for longer period and it will not help, because just before cultivation if you supply some fertilizer, that cannot be absorbed by the plant, just it will be loss of your money. Therefore the application of chemical fertilizer should be early and not too much. You should not use too much until or unless it is necessary. Nitrogenous fertilizer is not suitable for spreading, otherwise resulting in volatilization or loss due to low mobility. Phosphatic fertilizer should be in deep placement. So what would be the method how we can apply the fertilizers? So we should follow what is the component or composition of the fertilizer and what would be the best way to spread through the plants or in the soil. Case studies of soil pollution. Ethiopia is filled with both air and soil pollution. So we have mentioned one country. The worst area is in Somalia's Iha Valley near Hargeisa. To boost their economy, many farmers began using chemical fertilizers and pesticides to increase productivity without understanding the full ramifications. That means what types of fertilizer is needed for my land. Without knowing this, they came to know that if we use more fertilizer we can grow more crops. But what is the quality of your soil you need to know. Without knowing you cannot use or you should not use. That will even worsen your situation. Maybe your soil already acidic, so you need to make it neutralize, or you need to make it alkaline. Therefore without knowing, if you add more acidic component in the soil, that will even worsen the condition. Therefore you need to think about what. So Ethiopia, when they started to use the fertilizer for the first time, they, without knowing what types of soil fertilizer should be suitable for their land, so they used different types of fertilizer without knowing, so they became very the situation became very worse. Now the care principles of organic farming. So we are thinking, or we want to improve the quality of the soil, and we also want to improve the quality of our health. Therefore we are going to move more, or going to forward to the organic farming. That means no use of chemical fertilizers. Feed the soil, not the plant. Okay, feed the soil, not the plant. So if we can feed the soil, that means in last class I have already mentioned that feed the soil, that means you are planning to improve the quality of the soil, not the directly you want to feed the plant. Therefore feeding plant means you are using the chemical fertilizer, but if you want to feed the soil, or if you can improve the quality of the soil, that is required to apply organic fertilizer. And I have mentioned several times about that if we use organic fertilizer, in that case day by day the quality of the soil is increasing, and after certain period of time you can have very good quality of soil. That means lot of water, lot of microorganisms, and uh, there will be no deficiency of any nutrients. So organic fertilizer made of worms versus chemical fertilizers. So what is the quantity applied organic? The more the better. If you use more organic fertilizer, that is good. For chemical, overdose can kill the plants, as already mentioned about my elder brother. So if you use too much of chemical fertilizer, that may kill your plant, because anything excess, try to remember this phrase or word, anything excess is bad. Even if you have lot of food, lot of uh, sleeping, or if you drink lot of coffee or tea, anything, whatever, so anything excess is bad. So we will try to remember this word. That means if we use lot of chemical fertilizers, that can kill our plants also. Expiration date, no. So in case of organic fertilizer, there is no real expiration date, because we are making the organic fertilizer out of different types of uh, rotten things. Therefore there is nothing or to be expired. But chemical fertilizer, we have some certain period of expiration date or expiration time. If you do not use the fertilizer within that time, maybe I can ask one question: why we should have some uh, the expiration date for chemical fertilizer? Any of you have idea why we should have, or why we have the expiration date for chemical fertilizers? Nobody? You are familiar with the term half-life. Do you know what is the half-life? Half-life of a reaction? Hello, can you hear me? Please respond someone. There is no response. There are a lot of students, I know. How many?
Professor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. There are
Yeah,
20.
I said,
Yes,
no, what did I say?
I have mentioned
Half,
about the half-life.
yeah, half-life reaction.
Yes, what is this?
Uh, I remember the topic, but I forgot the concept just now.
Okay,
I
okay, I
just
see.
remembered.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry.
Let us consider what is about the half-life of human. Let us consider I may survive up to 80 years, or I can be alive up to 80 years. Then you can easily consider, if my age is 40, then I have just reached my half-life. Is it? So
Yes, Professor.
for any chemical reaction, you have some period of time when the concentration when the concentration of that chemical will be half. Just that is the half life of the reaction. So chemical fertilizer is made up of different types of chemicals. So if you have some chemicals, definitely it will have some half-life. So if you do not use that chemical within that period, that means certain period, maybe it can be 10 or 10 days, 20 days or 30 days. So if you do not use within that period, then the reaction capacity or the reactant will be converted into something else. Therefore that will not remain as fertilizer. So if you do not use the fertilizer within that period, that will not work anything, or that will not, it can convert into something else which is very dangerous. Therefore you need to use the fertilizer within the mentioned time, otherwise that the chemical fertilizer will be, can be dangerous, or even it will not work at all. So soil structure can be improved by using organic fertilizer. Then if we use chemical fertilizer, it is not going to increase the quality of the soil, it deteriorates it with time. That means if you use chemical fertilizer after day, then you will have that the chemical fertilizer can deteriorate the quality of the soil. Then benefits short and long term. Actually the short time benefits is little bit lower or rare in case of organic fertilizers, but long term benefit is very large or very high. In case of chemical fertilizer, short term, this is very immediate. That means if your plant become, if the leaves of your plant become yellow, then just put some nitrogen containing fertilizer, that means like urea. You will see that maybe within a day the plant or the leaf started to change the color. So that is the effect of chemical fertilizer. Then microorganisms, when we use organic fertilizers, lot of microorganisms are created in the soil so that they can improve the quality of the soil. However, when we use chemical fertilizer, it do not increase the microorganisms, even sometimes it kills the microorganism. If your soil has some microorganisms by nature, that the chemical fertilizer can kill the microorganisms. So there will be ultimately the worsen the quality of the soil, because if you use chemical fertilizer, then how many microorganisms you had, that can be killed by the chemical fertilizers. Then environment, easily biodegradable for organic fertilizer. So that is, actually the organic fertilizers are very beneficial for us, and chemical fertilizer pollutes the soil and water. So we will try to reduce the use of chemical fertilizer, because we know that the quality or the situation or the environment is changing, or it is deteriorating due to use of chemical fertilizer. We have different types of disadvantages, so we should reduce the use of chemical fertilizers. Then what is pesticides? Pesticides, the compounds or chemicals what are used to kill different types of pest, or that can help to damage our crops. That means if our crop has some pest or some worms, so uh, then we can kill some, we can use some chemicals to kill them, so that the pesticides can be used to kill unwanted plant, sometime unwanted plant, unwanted uh, worms, or many other things, virus, bacteria, algae, and different types. So for what purpose we are going to use the pesticides? There are different categories of pesticides, let's see what are the categories of pesticides, classification of pesticides, herbicides. So if you want to kill the weeds, that means unwanted plants, you want to grow some vegetables, but your your soil or your land has something else, that means there are a lot of weeds what you do not want to grow, because you are planning to grow something else or some vegetables or some other things. So the unwanted plants can be killed by using borax or nitrophene. These types of chemicals can be used to kill the weeds, and recently many people have started to use this one because the getting mm, human to clean the land, it is not available nowadays. Therefore people are trying to use these types of chemicals very often because they want to clean the land, but no people are available, so they are trying to use this chemical, so to remove or to reduce or to kill the unwanted plants. Then insecticide, mostly we know what is the pesticide. Mostly we are familiar with this term insecticide. These are used to kill insect. Mainly it has started the use of pesticides or insecticide. This one was started for the first time, and many people till now know as insecticide or pesticides only this type to kill the insect, because some of the insect they can eat our crop or the crop plant, therefore we can kill these types of insect by using insecticides. There are some example: DDT, BAC. So this can be used to kill the insecticides. Rodenticides, these are used to kill rodents. Warfarin, zinc phosphide, these types of chemicals can be used to for the rodenticides. Nematicides, what is this? Have you ever heard these types of nematicide? Or so what is this? These are used to kill nematodes. Anyone have idea what is nematodes? You are in the health science, many of you are in the health science, is it? So all of you are familiar with this word nematodes.
The type of animal classification.
Yes, classification. Then we have 10 different categories of classification of animals, is it?
I think so. I kind of forgot.
Yes. So one of them is nematodes, and I have, you can see that is roundworms. One of them. So you can see this one. This is one nematode. This is, so if your soil or if your land has these types of worms, then you can use DBCP or Forate, these types of chemicals to kill that types of uh, germs or nematodes. Then molasticide, these are used to kill moles, sodium pentachlorodiphenate. So these types of chemicals can be used to kill the moles. Then fungicides, all of these are okay. That is one very interesting thing. The people do not use very often this one, but I have seen some news regarding this. So later I will show fungicides. Fungicides, if your land or if your soil has lot of fungus, then you can use Bordex mixer. Bordex mixer, so you can kill the fungicides. Then algicides, these are used to kill algae, copper sulfate, endothal. So that is not very often used, but you can use, because these algicides can be, or sorry, algae can be killed by using copper sulfate. Bactericides, very similar for the name. If you can remember these names, then you can easily understand what is the purpose of using this. These are used to kill bacteria. So dichlorophene, what is this dichlorophene? We have used dichlorophene. What is the purpose of this medicine? Do you know? People also use this dichlorophene. This has been used to reduce the painkiller. So but nowadays it is not using, because doctor have found that this dichlorophene is carcinogenic. So we should not use this dichlorophene anymore. So the government has banned these types of medicine. So pesticides, pesticides, that means if someone want to kill fish, in that case they can use these types of chemicals. These are used to kill fishes. Trifluoromethyl nitrophenol. So as I have mentioned, I have heard some news that some people are spraying the pesticides over other people's pond to kill lot of fishes, and that is very dangerous. That should not be done by anyone until the owner want to kill all the fish for the sale or any other purpose. So pesticides, this is very dangerous chemical, we should not use at all. So then classification of pesticides according to the chemical structure. Okay, previously we have seen how the pesticides can be classified based on their use, but if we want to classify based on their chemical structure, then we can classify like this way: chlorine organic connections. So chlorine and organic, that means it should be connected, chlorine and carbon. So chlorine organic connections, chloridan, then heptachlor, chlorten, polychlorophenane. So different types of structure can be. Phosphorus and organic connection, chlorine organic, phosphorus organic, mercury organic, connections of arsenic, and derivatives of carbamic acid. There are several kinds of classification of pesticides based on what is the major component connected to the organic compound, that means main carbon containing compound. So based on the major component, we are naming or classifying the pesticides like as chlorine organic, phosphorus organic, mercury organic, and arsenic, connections of arsenic, derivatives of carbamic acid, etc. Pesticides chemical structure already mentioned, we have several examples, we don't need. So insecticides, we have natural and synthetic. Mostly we use synthetic, but there are some natural insecticide also. It may be new to know, but there are some plant that can kill some insecticides. How? That can be very strange. When the pest come into contact to the plant, then this plant can just fold their leaves. So after few days the insect or pest will be killed by itself. So there are some trees that can be done, or some other uh, pesticides or insecticides can be prepared from different types of plants. So if you can use, so we have some plant based uh, py pyrethrum and as dirathin, even we can also have mineral oils. if we can use some mineral oils, so we can increase the we can kill some insects using mineral oils. So that can be considered as the category of natural, and mostly are synthetic. Synthetic, there are mainly two different kinds, organic and inorganic. So organic and inorganic we can have, if you have mostly among inorganic insecticides are very less, mostly the organic, and we can have several kinds of organic, organochlorines, organophosphate, carbamates and pyrothioates. So what we have seen in previous slide, just we have different types of derivatives, carbamic acid connection with arsenic, mercury or connection, phosphorus and chlorine organic connections. So now we learn just one of the insecticides. So these are generated by organic species. This can be classed as natural organic insecticides. These are naturally occurred. Examples: nicotine. You are familiar with this word, nicotine. That can be found in different types of tobacco products. So that from that tobacco products we can collect this nicotine, and that can be used as a organic insecticides. Then synthetic organic insecticides. So this is natural and synthetic. These are synthetically generated, such as chlorine containing compounds, DDT. DDT, once it has been used quite a lot, and this DDT do not decompose very often, and once you use these insecticides in your crop, that will survive for a few years. So once you apply the DDT to your crop, then you will collect the DDT, that means your crops that will contain the DDT. So if you eat the crops or fruits or vegetables including DDT, that will come into your body and that will be very harmful. So that can help to coagulate the blood. So that is very dangerous. Therefore people have or WHO mentioned that we should not use any DDT containing pesticides or insecticides. Therefore the World Health Organization or different types of different types of government has banned these types of products, but still many people are trying to use without following the order of the WHO or the government. Phosphorus containing TEPP, dithion, different types of phosphorus containing organocarbamates, also insects nervous system. So organocarbamates, to ripen the banana or different types of fruits, sometimes the pineapple, people use the carbamic acid or organocarbamates. So that is also not very good. Insecticides mode of action. So a specific mode of action will target a specific part function of the insect. So what is the target, or how we can kill the insecticide? That will how we will kill the insect, not insecticide. So how we can kill the insects? There are different types of target. If it can eat the insect, then if it is possible to go into its stomach and digestive system, that can damage the digestive system. So it can be killed. Other way, it can destroy the reproduction system. So once it is getting into contact with the insects, then if it can destroy the reproduction system, what will happen? This insect will survive, but it will not be able to reproduce, or it will not give birth to new insect. Therefore, we can reduce the number of insects when we use the pesticides. Therefore, there are different types of nerve system. Some of the pesticides can affect its nerve system. That means it will feel dizzy, or it will become mad, so that it will not be able to work anymore. Therefore, they, based on different categories or different purpose, where we want to apply the insecticides, that means for which insect it is easy to come into contact, so that types of insecticides are prepared, and sometime we can spray to everywhere above the land or the crop, or sometime we can put inside the soil. So depending on how we can get into the contact of the insect, so there are different purpose or different target to use the insecticides for the different types of insects. 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid, this is one insecticide. So 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid is a common systematic herbicide. I have mentioned about the herbicide. What is herbicide? In last slides, one of the slides, I have mentioned about the herbicide. What is herbicide? Do not see my slide, so please mention what is herbicide. Anyone is here, or you didn't listen? Herbicide, I have mentioned about that the insecticide or the chemicals what is used to kill the unwanted plants. So if you have some field that you want to grow crops, but you have some unwanted plants, now if you spread 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid, then you can kill all these plants. Therefore, you can have the clear land. 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid is a common systematic herbicide used in the control of broadleaf weeds. So if some weeds have the broad leaf, that means not very thin or very small, if the leaves are very large and broad, in that case you can use these types of chemicals 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid, then it can help to kill these types of plants. It is one of the most widely used herbicide in the world and the third most commonly used in North America. So all over the world these types of chemicals, that means 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid, is very much usable or used, and third in North America, that means what we call as America. In 1987, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, concluded that 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid be classified as a class 2B carcinogenic, possible carcinogenic to humans. So 1987 people mentioned that, that means the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, they have mentioned that these types of chemical should not be used very often because it's a class 2B carcinogenic material, that means which can generate cancer on human. Therefore they have suggested not to use too much. Chemical or synthetic pesticides organochlorines. These are non-biodegradable and persistent in soil for long time. As I have mentioned, DDT. DDT, that is not very but this can kill the insect in very efficient way. However, it persistent or it persists for a long time. Therefore, it is very dangerous for the soil and also for human. Organophosphates, these are esters of alcohols with phosphoric acid or with some other acids. These are very toxic. Acetyl chlorine esters inhibitors as a result of which the breakdown of acetyl chlorine stops. The accumulation of acetyl chlorine in resulting in convulsion, paralysis and death. So there are different dangerous effects if we use organophosphates. Carbamates, they are derived from carbamic acid. Mode of action of carbamates is almost similar to organophosphates. So these two works in similar way. Therefore, and this carbamate can be generated from carbamic acid. Working of pesticides. How the pesticides work? Pesticides work in the following ways: by blocking the cellular process of the target organism in a purely mechanical way. Spray oils, petroleum oils. So as we have mentioned here, so what is our target? That means if it will destroy the reproductive system or it will destroy the digestive system or respiration, different things, what is our target? Or it will kill, it will damage the nervous system, or it will stop mouth, so it will not be able to eat anything more. Therefore, based on different type of target, what is our target or what is the most available way to reach the insect, we can use that types of chemicals. So by blocking the cellular process of the target organisms in a purely mechanical way, that means once the insect come into contact with the insecticides or pesticides, that means we need to spray everywhere of the land and above the crops. Then if this chemical come into contact with the pesticides, then we will be able, that will help or that will block the cellular process of the target organisms. So by destroying or altering the pest metabolism, that means if you have something not suitable for your stomach, what will happen? You will have, maybe you can have dysentery or some other disease. Therefore, if we have any problem in our metabolism, our body situation will be changed or we will be sick. Similarly, if we can alter or we can destroy the metabolism of the insect by using some chemicals, in that case the insect can be killed by disturbing enzyme process or denature proteins. So if we can change the protein of the insect or we can change the protein of the insects, in that case it will change the workability. That means how it damages our crops, it will not be able to do anymore. By disturbing photosynthesis and preventing the wheat plant from producing or storing energy. That means, as we have mentioned, we can use, that means 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacetic acid. So if the plant has very broad leaf, in that case if you spread lot of chemicals over this plant, in that case it will not be able to take any sunlight. to make the or to happen the photosynthesis. Therefore, once the photosynthesis is stopped, therefore the plant will automatically die. So by disturbing photosynthesis and preventing the wheat plant from producing or storing energy. Benefits of pesticides, all of you are familiar with this. They are used in public health programs to control vector-borne disease. We can use these types of chemicals or different types of pesticides. So they are used in public health programs to control vector-borne disease. They are used to protect the stored food grains. Maybe sometime you can store the food because many places of the world they can grow different crops once in a year, or sometime if it can be destroyed by flood or any other problem, in that case we cannot grow maybe within 1 year nothing. Therefore we need to store different types of food grains. Then if we want to protect, we need to use some chemicals so that no germ or no insect can damage our food grains. Therefore we can use different types of insecticides or pesticides. They protect the standing crop in the field. Yes, so mainly we use the insecticides or pesticides to protect the standing crop in the field. They do not increase the crop yield like fertilizer, but protecting the crop from pest. So if you have many pests, like as you can consider the rat, and there are different types of grasshopper. So there are different types of insects or some pest that can damage your crop. So if you can protect your crop from the um, pest or insects, then normally not only, never any pesticides help to increase the crop yield, but it can prevent from what already the fertilizer help to get. It can kill the pest and it will not reduce anymore. They can be used to control household pest, different types of, this is the household pest. Normally you can kill rat or different types of uh, mm, small animals, like as uh,
Cockroaches.
yeah, cockroach, definitely we can do it, and then ant, whatever. So we can use different types of pesticides. Hazards of pesticides, actually already we have mentioned. In case of organic pesticides and inorganic pesticides, we have, or chemical pesticides, we have made two different columns and we have discussed all of them separately, one individual or by comparing. The pesticide industries cause pollution of soil, water and air. The pesticidal residue washed away along with rainwater is added to the nearby water resources, making it unfit for drinking. Yes, we use lot of pesticides, and that pesticides come into contact with water, and that water washes to the nearby uh, drinking area. Sometime it can come into the sea, or sorry, mainly it come into canal and then river or some other lakes or ponds. Therefore once these pesticides come into contact with this water is no more suitable for drinking. In that case, if you want to drink that water, you need to purify perfectly, and then they enter the food chain and cause problem of bioaccumulation or biomagnification. So it can, once we eat the these pesticides, because if we apply the pesticides to the crop, that will we get into the crop and we will eat or we will drink or we will have in any way, either cooking or without cooking. So if we have these types of uh, pesticides in our body, that can change the that can cause problem of bioaccumulation or biomagnification. They are not target specific, hence kills non-pest insects. Yes, we need lot of butterfly. Hmm? The butterfly helps to increase the productivity. If there are no butterfly, if there is no other honeybee, in that case we will not have many crops, because the reproductivity system or reproduction system is enhanced by the butterfly and different types of honeybees. Therefore, if you apply the insecticides over your crop, what will happen? It will kill the pest. In addition to, it will kill the other flies what I have mentioned, like as honeybee or butterfly or any other things. Therefore, that will ultimately, if butterflies and honeybees these are killed, then our reproduction system will be hampered. Therefore, the crop production will be even less. Therefore, we can say that the production of crops can be reduced by the use of pesticides, because once we use the pesticide, that can kill the non-pest. So it adversely affect the mechanism of entomophily. That means we should not use the insecticides or pesticides unnecessarily, and we will be careful that not too many non-pest insects are killed. Continuous and indiscriminate use of pesticides may develop resistance in insect pests like super pest and super bugs. Oh my god, that is the very dangerous thing. That means you may heard about the word, uh, if your body is uh, mm, occupied with lot of antibiotics. So what the function of antibiotic? It kills the bacteria or virus, something like this. So once your body is protected, you need to have certain amount of antibiotic for a certain period of time and regularly. If you do not um, complete the course for the antibiotic, then there are some insecticide or pest in your body, or virus, bacteria, whatever germ, that will adjust or it will change its immune system such a way that it will not the uh, antibody sorry the antibiotic will not work anymore in your body. In that case, once you are infected, or again if you are infected with that same germ, in that case if you have the antibiotic, that antibiotic will not work for your body. That means that will be very dangerous for you. So continuous and indiscriminate use of pesticides may develop resistance in insect pests like superpest and superbugs. That means these superpest and superbugs, these types of insects cannot be killed with any insecticides. They will become just resistance of all types of pesticides. Therefore, if you use continuously in your field or in your crop, after few years you will see that there are some pest or mm, insect that can survive with these types of chemicals or pesticides. Therefore, that pesticides that pest or insect will never be killed with that types of pesticides. For that, either you need to synthesize or you need to prepare something else which is even more powerful compared to that. Otherwise you will not be able to kill that types of super bugs or super pest. You may heard about that. Some places in Pakistan and some place nearby, they have found lot of super bugs. They cannot kill the pest and they are non-biodegradable and affect the balance of ecosystem. So these pesticides, they are not biodegradable. That means if you use these pesticides once, that will remain for a long period of time, like as polythene or plastic, what we say, that are not biodegradable. So if you use these types of chemicals or these types of pesticides, that will remain in the environment for a long period of time, that can affect our body and the food chain. They are highly toxic in nature and if not handled carefully, they can cause serious health problems like cancer, deformities and disease. Not only this, even I have seen and I have heard in my village that some people have drunken that types of insecticides and they died. So that are so toxic that it can kill human. Just if someone uses little bit more, that is enough to kill a man. So they are highly toxic in nature and if not handled carefully, that means most of the time the insecticides is spread by human. In that case you need to protect your nose, your eyes, so the and mouth also, definitely mouth. So none of the either the gas of that chemicals or that pesticides, or you do not inhale or you do not get into your eye or in your body or face anywhere. Sorry. So you should be careful to handle this. They can cause serious health problems like cancer, deformities and then disease. Accidents in pesticides manufacturing units cause great loss of human life. So these types of accident, uh, where the people are synthesizing or making these types of pesticides, if they do not if there is any accident, that can kill many people. So we are not going to have anything more today. Okay, and just one thing, alternative to pesticides. Now we have discussed many things regarding that the use, advantage and disadvantages of pesticides. So we have found many disadvantages. It can be damaged, it can damage our environment, or it can kill different types of useful insect, and also it can produce cancer and many other things, as already have mentioned in 7 different points. So what we can do, what is the alternate? That means if we can change, if we want to kill the insects, so if we can kill the insects in other way without using these types of highly toxic chemicals, so what we can do, integrated pest management IPM is an effective and environmentally sensitive approach to pest management that relies on a combination of common sense practice that can be done. uh, you can put some light and trap for the different types of pest. So how you can put a light at the night. At night, all the pests try to come into close to the light. Now, if you can make a trap that you can put a bowl of water and keep a light close to the water. So what will happen? The pest will come to the light and suddenly it will fall into water, then it will not be able to survive. So by this way we can do that. Another way, there are several examples I can see on the internet, and sometime they can use different types of uh, sound making process. Sound making process, that means sometime sorry, different types of birds and other different types of pests come into the crop and they try to eat, and it can damage the crops. Therefore you can use certain or some motor type, and just like a calling bell what we are using in offices, but in the land or in the crop field we can use something, just it will make some sound after certain period of time. So it can be used just the air pressure. So if we can make one circular rotatory system or just like a turbine, it can rotate the turbine and then it can um, make sound over some substance, so that can be easy. IPM programs use current comprehensive information on the life cycles of pests and their interaction with the environment. This include use of pest resistance to tolerant predators and pathogens, use of parasites, summer polling and late planting, quarantine measures, etc. So we can use different types of methods. Biological control methods, it include the use of living beneficial organisms called natural enemies to control pests. So in last year I have seen the Dhaka City Corporation, they have tried to uh, they have tried to uh, release some frog in the Dhaka city. What will happen? They are planning, the frog will eat up lot of mosquitoes. That means there last year we had lot of dengue. So if the frogs can eat up lot of dengue, that means Aedes mosquito, therefore it can help to reduce the dengue disease or dengue fever. Therefore even some country has developed some mosquito itself to reduce the um, uh, Aedes mosquito. So that types of biological control is an important part of any integrated pest management. All insects and mites have some natural enemies. Managing these enemies can effectively control many pests. There are three components of biological control: importation, conservation and augmentation. So there are three different ways we can control or manage the biological the how we can control the pest. Okay, biopesticides. So what are the biopesticides? These are the most effective, important and commercially viable because these are inexpensive, cause no pollution and pose no threat to human health. Therefore, these types of biopesticides can be useful and that are very good for health. So it will not damage our body system or immune system. So advantage, disadvantages: effective in lower quantities and owing to biodegradably decompose quickly. Then what are the disadvantages? Slow acting compared to chemical pesticides. Yes, that is because you need to use very small amount. However, it acts very slowly. No residue. So you will not have anything left after the use, so that is environmental friendly. Target a specific necessitating multiple approaches. So what types of insect you have in your plant or in your crop, you need to fix which one you, which types of pesticide you need for what types of pest. Less risk to human and the environment. So this biodegradable or what we have biopesticides. So these biopesticides are very friendly and for the human and environment. Target the specific, but they can be also effectively used against plant pathogens. So it can be used for certain specific purpose, but it can also be used as plant pathogens. Then low stability of some biopesticides. So these biopesticides can sustain for quite short time. Less shelf life. Okay, that means as we have mentioned, low stability of some biopesticides. That means we can have very short period of time, and used in combination with general pesticides. So we can use with combination. That means some chemical pesticides and some bio pesticides we can use. Multiple regulatory issue and economic challenges. So as the lifetime can be very short, so you need to use several times, and it can be the multiple economic issue or host specificity, mode of action and biodegradable properties are known. So you can modify the biopesticides exactly what is the target or what types of pest you have in your crop. So based on that you can choose your pest so that you can reduce the or you can increase the production of crop. So lower development cost compared to conventional chemical pesticides. So even that can be, if you want to modify your pest in certain level, the cost of development would be cheaper compared to normal chemical pesticides. Due to highly selective nature, they have low profit potential. Okay, so if you want to use the biopesticides in your crop, that can be used only for certain reason. If you have something else, maybe you have another type of pest, in that case if you use that not recommended pesticide, that will not be useful at all. So due to highly selective nature, they have low profit potential. So you cannot use one pesticides for another pest that is highly selective. So that will just kill targeted animal or targeted pest. So this is the end of this chapter and today's class. If you have any question or comment, then you are welcome.